So, here we are with Bonalumi Bottlers, Daniel and Marcus. And nice to see you.
Well, very nice to see you too.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Daniel, master distiller. What can you tell us about yourself, your background?
Well, I can start by saying that, around the time where, I'm going to say after the time, I was legally able to drink and, acknowledge the existence of this wonderful world of spirits. I had a few appearances at Gin Bar in Geneva, where we grew up, both me and my brother. And at first, it was a bit challenging, like for the most of us, but then I got deeper and deeper into the whiskey, world, so to speak, and stayed there for a long time until I started branching out into rum, Calvados, and all types of aged spirits. And then I felt like, you get a little bit tired of all these aged things. Not really, but you need a break.
Yeah.
So my break was gin.
Okay.
And at first it was, like a break is at the start, a way to get away from a thing you love that you don't want to get tired of.
Yeah.
But then you start discovering, damn, this thing that I use as a way to relax and take some time away from my love is actually a bit of a brewing love in itself. So so that's all in all a bit of my background. I'm a huge spirits nerd who got the opportunity from my brother when we were in Scotland visiting distilleries to, he said, why don't we start something of our own? And at first I was like, well, okay, let's look at it. So we met on Discord, this app where people usually game, but it's also used for you to connect with friends that are on the other side of the globe and such. So we started throwing darts at the board, and eventually more and more research and more knowledge grew into a database, basically, that eventually became enough to actually jump into this adventure, this gin venture. First we wanted to make whiskey, but we realized that venture would be way too ambitious, because of aging and all other aspects of it. But then we started experimenting with compound gins at home, and we both love gin, so we said, hey, this seems to be the obvious choice. And then from there we started to think about what kind of gin we wanted to make. And, we had family and friends in France, Italy, and Switzerland. And then our neighbors up in, down in Skåne, because we're in Stockholm right now, he said, hey, guys, why don't you come down here? We need a distillery in Österlen. So, and then we thought about the aromatic, signature of the region. And we decided to, let's do it there.
Okay,
That's pretty much it.
Interesting. And what's your background? You can steal the mic.
Here we go.
I'll do a little bit of mic theft there. Here we go. So I went the unconventional way. So as soon as I finished high school and university, I went into the world of entrepreneurship, started companies and all that. And the first company I built was actually a surprising success, and grew very, very big. But it allowed me to learn a lot about starting up a company, setting it up, growing it, scaling it, and all of these more tedious and boring things. And after that, I've created many companies in other sectors. But I just love to work with stuff that I don't know anything about and learn everything, because I learn pretty fast. And for me, it was just that we visited Scotland for a cousin's birthday, and we went around the distilleries. And for me, it was just that I knew that Daniel had a passion for spirits, but when we walked to the distilleries, he had these eyes of someone that's just like freshly in love, and like the sparkle in the eyes. And I was like, there is no way he will be happier with anything else than working with this. And since I knew that I could set up a company and do everything, I just talked to the guy in Scotland and was like, how do you set up a distillery? What do you start with? What do you need? And after a bit of research, we just went along. And as he said, we had this debate about where to do it. I lived in Switzerland, so for me it was like Switzerland has really good water, really good raw materials. So it's like an obvious choice. But Sweden is where we're from, and it felt very fun to come back since we left Sweden as kids and never came back to Sweden.
Because that was my next question. Really, why did you choose to set up in Sweden? Because I know that you live abroad. So that's fun to hear as well. You come back to your heritage.
It's a part of that. It's the fact that I've always wanted to live in Sweden.
Yeah.
Because I just love how people are in Sweden. I love the culture.
Yeah.
And also one thing, like I love making food. And one thing that I've noticed in Sweden, even as opposed to Switzerland, where everything is really high quality, is that Swedish produce is very high quality.
Yeah.
Swedish fruits, Swedish vegetables, even Swedish meat. So working with these raw materials here in Sweden is really, really fun. Like when we worked on the recipe, for example, one ingredient we use is lavender.
Yeah.
And lavender, just trying different brands of lavender or species is like a world apart. And we have a friend down at Österlen that makes like half of the ingredients that we use in our gin. So it's locally grown. And the brand that he uses is a gastronomical lavender. And for us, we were blown away. You can imagine, we're using in maybe a 50-liter batch, we use maybe just a couple of grams of lavender. And just changing the species.
And you get all that taste in it.
Yeah, it's a world of difference. Like in blind taste, we were like, this is completely different.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it happened. And our neighbor said there is no distillery in Österlen. And on top of that, our grandmother lives there. And for us, it was very important. She's like 92, 93 now.
Yeah.
And it was really, really important for us to be able to spend time with her.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And so for us, we're blessed. And she's like the best human being in the world.
Yeah.
So for us, it's wonderful to be able to work with my brother in a beautiful place, in front of the sea.
Yeah.
And to visit grandma.
That's lovely.
And to make something that we love. And as we said to our colleagues back there, we don't actually care how little or how much we sell.
Yeah.
Because as long as we have fun making it and we make something we love, and that we sell enough so we can continue doing it, then we're just blessed. So that's kind of the vision and the story behind it.
But since you've been living outside Sweden for so long, have you incorporated something in the gin that you have taken from Switzerland or so? Or is it just Swedish taste you're looking for? Or
it's actually a really good question, because I'll give you the mic right after. But it's a really good question, because the vision behind the taste of the gin was to give people outside of Sweden a picture of Swedish taste.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I took flavors from outside Sweden and brought it. I brought an exterior perspective. Yeah. In the sense that we want this gin to be sold outside of Sweden, because we think Swedish gin is not selling enough outside of Sweden.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to counter. We want to try to get Swedish gin out more. And so for us, it was a natural that our classic gin would have what we recognize as Swedish culinary taste as an aftertaste. So we had cardamom, allspice, so kryddpeppar, and cinnamon. Yeah. And for us, like kanelbulle or cinnamon bun, that's just Sweden in one
really
taste.
Sweden, yeah.
And so that's kind of and since we distill the way we distill, that taste lingers in the mouth for very long. And so for us, it was just a befitting taste for Sweden in the bottle. Yeah. And I'm sure you have some kind of an aspect of that as well.
Yeah, and you'll have to stop me if I go a bit too far off. There we go. No, so well, like Marcus said, it's that was our launch pad, that spice moment in Bonalumi Bottlers Österlen, and it started with a cardamom proto recipe, and then we chose allspice and cinnamon as its companions. And me and François, we worked in the lab. It's probably the aspect of the gin we worked most with, to find that spice balance. Yeah. When that was done, the rest of the job was, of course, hard, but it helped so much because it, like Marcus said, that spice moment takes the gin further into the finish. So all the other flavors, they can linger a bit more with that moment.
Well, there was also the flavor enhancer work when you had to balance the angelica root and the orris root.
Of course, that was an idea that I had even before we started. The fact that a lot of gins I noticed use either angelica root or orris root, which is understandable because less ingredients, simpler. But I was wondering the potential behind combining both binders. Yeah. And we're not the only ones that do that, but I put a lot of effort into that too, having one that's a bit more dominant, not just having them 50-50. Yeah. We tried that too, but we ended up with angelica in maybe a bit more than 2/3, and orris 1/3. And when that and the spice was set, we could play a bit more with fruits. I wanted to have every sensation represented: spice, bitterness, sweetness, fruitiness, and floral. So
that's why we consider the basic gin as sort of a taste bomb, because culinarily speaking, we wanted it to touch every part of the tongue when you drink it, so that you have like the fruitiness and the sourness and everything at the front. Oh, sorry,
you can hold it.
I'll hold it. So we wanted to have like that fruity and citric side at the beginning of the tongue, the herbal side on the sides. We wanted to have like the raw juniper flavor that comes in maybe 2 seconds in, really on the middle of the tongue, and then cardamom and allspice and all that lingering in the back of the throat. Also because it's an interesting way of tasting something. For someone like we often notice at these events that people that either don't like gin or people that love whiskey really like our gin. Because of the complexity that it has. It's most normal gins have a taste that lingers for 2 to 5 seconds. That you have like some strong botanical feeling at the beginning, and then you have like a little peppery feeling after 4 seconds. And if you taste this, you'll feel that the pepper sensation comes in with the juniper kind of in the middle, with the coriander and all. And then you have, since we incorporate tails into our distillation, we have the cardamom and all that comes in at the end. And you get that long finish.
No, it's just that it's an interesting thing that we actually, that wet dog, at the end of distillation. Me and François really sipped a lot of wet dog to the point we were 2 Labradors in the lab after a while. But it was really worth it because the finish, I think, is one of the strongest aspects of our gin.
Yeah, you have a great product. So I'm also keen to know what else we will see in the future.
So this is, of course, this is a pure version. So the final version is already elaborated. And basically we have added star anise and bitter orange into it. So you have to expect a more complex taste. But this is going to be our saffron gin that we're releasing later this year. And as complete opposition to our standard gin, this one is very balanced, mellow, kind of warm. This is one of the few gins that I feel I can just sit at home and sip. Just like a dessert kind of thing. This kind of inspired us to go on other routes as well with other types of products. Not a gin, but maybe go into liqueur way with this. But as a gin, super, super interesting. You'll get to taste it, of course. But it's this is the next path. We're experimenting with other things. Since we're selling the product in France, we have a friend that stores it at their place, and they make Calvados. So we're gonna experiment with Calvados storage, and later on we'll make a road trip down to Spain and Portugal to try out all the Madeiras, all the port wines, all the cherries, and see how both incorporating them and the casks will affect. We are experimenting somewhere here. We have a Madeira test. And the final thing we're testing is this, which is based off the husk of cocoa beans. We have friends that make chocolate down in Österlen. And we want to use the remaining, the things they throw away. So all of the husks of all the cocoa beans they use, they throw away. And they still contain super intense aroma. So we want to try to make like a chocolate gin or a cocoa gin. It's very interesting to try. We have to still work a lot on the pairings, what to put in maceration before, what to put in vapor infusion, what to put in compound gin if we're going to steep it after. So a lot of testing to do, but it's going to be very interesting products.
I'm just going to add a few things, but apart from the compound gins and all the very ginny experiments, we have ambitions to remain in gin and keep doing Willy Wonka type stuff like this, which is so
super fun.
Oh my god. I mean, you can go hours and hours about this, but apart from that wonderful thing, I still have my roots in whiskey and rum, so we want to have an independent bottling operation if we get there. But that's long term, and apart from that, another gin thing, Navy Strength. Is coming with a more maritime outlook. I'll say no more than that. We'll try and make it work with our DNA or make something completely different.
Fun.
Oh,
So-
the misty idea. Okay.
Ah,
That's why it's actually called Bonalumi Bottlers.
yeah.
Because the original idea was that we wanted to be a bottling company
Okay.
and to do independent bottling.
Yeah, yeah.
Since he comes from the whiskey world,
Yeah.
we wanted to start over there. But in the end, in the process of learning distillation, it was a lot more logical to start with something where we can see the result immediately.
Yeah.
And given that I was a big gin fan, and that gin is like the whiskey's resting spirit,
Yeah.
it just was a befitting middle where we can both be passionate about the product and also learn. Because once you can make gin, theoretically you can make anything. Because the process is the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
yeah.
making the mash, making the low wine or the beer, making the distillat, making the spirit. The only step that we really need to learn more about is really like aging. Like the science behind aging, and I think it's only by doing that we learn.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Testing and experimenting and all that.
Add one last segment before we continue, because we've talked a lot without any questions.
No worries.
But I thought it would be fun. Maybe you had this question, so I'm sorry if I'm advancing the script here. But I wanted to ask you, I'm going to give my answer, but what was the gin where you fell in love with gin? What gin made you fall in love with it? I'll start with the represented here, Botanist.
Okay, yeah.
A Bruichladdich fan in the
Yeah,
whiskey
yeah.
world. So that was the gin that really got me deeply interested in gin.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was Copperhead, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
It was, but it was that, like, I started drinking gin at a part in my life when I was still going out a lot,
Yeah.
and drinking was to get drunk or
Yeah,
for
yeah.
parties. And I was starting to find this spirit that I could drink only one type of spirit the whole night and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that was gin. And I just felt like this is actually really nice.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So yeah, my first encounter with gin was I don't want to name the brands, but it was not good. But then I tasted Hernö, and then it just opened up for me, and I found all the very interesting gins that we got for the moment, and still they are just hammering out gins for the moment, especially in Sweden, and it's lovely to see.
Yep.
So yeah, I can't wait to see what else you will bring out in the future. And thank you for your time.
Likewise.
And yeah, we will see you.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Thank you.
And good to see you in the flesh.
Yeah, the same.